Well, hello there, and welcome to the Matt Powers Show. I am your titular host, Matt Powers, a one-time superhero of my own right back in my 20s, and now an elder millennial living in his mother's basement, broadcasting to the world my podcast of awesomeness because, well, that's what millennials do. This is, of course, your Nerdcast, where we talk about all things nerd culture, from movies to TV to video games to music and sports if we ever get around to it. I apologize, of course. Normally you would see an animated character talking to you here. We were having a little bit of trouble with the animation this week. Some updates that happened that are just kind of breaking the process down a little bit. And I thought, well, maybe for a little while we'll just put an image up here of me so you can see my beautiful cartoon face. And but I can still talk to you about the things that I want to talk to you because we got a lot to talk about. There's always something new happening. I've got some reviews coming up every week. We got a new review coming up, and there's some really cool stuff that's happening. Today specifically, we need to talk about the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer that dropped, and I just mostly because I just want to say how amazing this is. But I kind of want to get this out there because a lot of people have forgotten that this movie is coming. A lot of people have forgotten, or don't even know that there's going to be this movie. So sit back, relax. Let's talk briefly about Ghostbusters Afterlife, a little bit about Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters Afterlife, and then what this trailer is. So basically, those of you who know me know that I was born loving Ghostbusters. Like, it is my number one favorite thing in the whole freaking world. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's my favorite cartoon of all time. It's probably one of the best video games ever made. They made one for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 about 20 years ago. Really a fantastic franchise. I run a tabletop Ghostbusters RPG every now and then for people, from an old game in a box from Weston Games from 1986. Like, I'm really into Ghostbusters, okay? And my love for Ghostbusters has sort of carried me through my life. So those of you who don't know, they made two movies, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. And then there was an animated show that they had in the 80s that sort of filled in other stories. And then for many, many years through the 90s and into the 2000s, there was talk about there being a third movie. And it never came together. And most of the time it was Bill Murray's fault. Bill Murray wanted nothing to do with it. He'd say yes and then he'd say no. Multiple scripts were written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. Many attempts were thrown out there to make the movie. And Bill just didn't want anything to do with it. And they assumed, if Bill Murray wasn't going to be in the movie, then people, fans wouldn't want to watch the movie. Fast forward to the end of the 2000s, going into the 2010s, and a video game is made where all of the actors came back and voiced their characters. The game was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. It's called Ghostbusters, and it actually is set as a Ghostbusters 3. It takes place during the 90s, sort of resolves some storylines, gives us another look at what you get to play as a new Ghostbuster, a nameless Ghostbuster. They don't want to know his name in case he dies. And basically it reintroduces sort of Ghostbusters to a more modern audience. But it's a really good cap. It's a good third movie in video game form. Well, if you don't know, the director of the original Ghostbusters movie, a guy named Ivan Reitman, who did such classics as like Animal House, besides Ghostbusters, I think he did Meatballs. Ivan Reitman is a big name in the industry, and his son Jason Reitman, who was also a fantastic director, and I would say he's probably in. You have a list of the top 20 best directors today. Jason Reitman is in that conversation. He's in that list. He did Juno. And I apologize, I'm spacing. He's done a bunch of films, and I'm spacing on like all of them. The only one I can remember is Juno. He's a very talented director who makes very personal films, and he himself has grown up as most of us have as a ghost head, as a fan of Ghostbusters, and he is written and is directing a new Ghostbusters movie called Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, it will take place in the year that it's released, so it is 2021. It is a modern-day movie where, from what we understand of the story, the Ghostbusters have long since broken up, and one of the Ghostbusters, Egon, went on to have a family. And he's Harold Ramis, the actor who played Egon, has passed away. There's that Egon himself has passed away in this universe, but his daughter, she's a single mom with 2 kids, and they're basically the broke. They have no money. They're not doing well, and he has left them in his will. He has left them an old farmhouse in the middle of the Midwest somewhere, an old run-down, dirty farmhouse. And as we come to see through the trailers that have been released, something is going on in this town. There is a resurgence of ghost activity, and the kids discover the equipment, the proton packs, the traps, the stuff, and they sort of take it upon themselves to try to figure out what's happening and to stop what could be an oncoming apocalypse. It does star Paul Rudd as a teacher who gets involved with this, and from this new trailer that was released, we see a lot of more of the paranormal stuff. We're going to expect lots of ghosts. Looks like mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, which is actually a genius idea. It's good marketing. And we're going to have a lot of returning cast members. This new trailer had Annie Potts reprising her character as Janine Melnitz. Whether or not she's the mom's mom, whether or not she's Egon's ex-wife or whatever, we don't know. That was always kind of a thread they set up in the first movie and didn't play out, so who knows how she's connected, but she's going to be in the film. And then at the very end of the trailer, we see Ray's occult bookshop, and the phone rings, and we just see his arms, and someone picks up the phone and says, "We're closed." It is clearly Dan Aykroyd playing Ray Stantz, his character. So obviously the existing Ghostbusters, the existing cast are all going to be in this film. This is a legacy film. This is passing it on to a new generation. And that's kind of what Jason Reitman has said in all these interviews, is saying this is my opportunity to pass this down. I'm the next generation, and this is me creating a movie. So it's not a reboot as much as from here we can do more. We can move, but we have to let go. We have to let go of the past stuff, because all that stuff, it's so far out now. It's 30 years since the first movie. Anyway, so this trailer drops, and I'm very excited because there's lots of stuff in this trailer. We're seeing the young characters, the 2 kids, one who's like 16 or so, and then the girl who's like 11 or 12, and they're Egon's grandkids. They're very, one's fixing up the ectomobile, driving the car, and the other one, the girl, Phoebe, the young girl, she's the one with the proton pack now and shooting ghosts, and it looks so good. And it's not cheesy, it's not schlocky. This is it seems like it's going to be a very personal film that means a lot to the people making it, means a lot to us who are watching it. It's going to have Jason Reitman's touch as a director. He films very personal movies that have beautiful interactions. He purposefully pulls out, I think, some of the best acting from his actors. Everything in this, a lot that was in this trailer was in the first trailer. So the first trailer that came out kind of gave us an idea of what the movie's about, but it didn't give us a lot about the supernatural stuff. This added to that by showing us more of the ghosts, more, that we're going to see the terror dogs from the first movie are back, which looks frightening. And with the little mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and stuff. Obviously, this has connections to that first film and Gozer. All that stuff is going to be coming back, and that's good. And you kind of want that as a third film to tie everything together. I'm really excited for this movie. Now, I'm going to address something here real quick. I'm just going to say this, okay? I know as a franchise, and I know as fans, we've had a difficult time with Ghostbusters because in 2016 there was a new movie that was made by Paul Feig, who's I still think is one of the great comedy directors of our age, with some of the funniest women in Hollywood today playing Ghostbusters in a definite reboot. Right? There's no connection to the existing universe. Now, let me say this. Okay, before everyone starts attacking me and whatever, before anything, just listen. Was it a good movie? Okay. Was it a good movie? I personally went into it with no expectations and didn't care that it wasn't the original cast. I just wanted to see a Ghostbusters movie. That's all I cared about. And if it was a reboot, fine, whatever. That was what we were getting. It was okay. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. Some of the jokes fall flat. Some of the stuff is repeated from the other movies. But you know what? There was more ghost busting in that movie than were in the first two movies combined. And that was something I was really looking forward to. I like Ivan Reitman's direction, where it's sort of a coming into your own business kind of feel. But the first two Ghostbusters movies, they don't have a lot of ghost busting in it, guys. If you watch the cartoon, as I grew up on the cartoon, there was a lot of, every episode had a lot of ghost busting in it. So to see a movie that sort of reflected that, I really appreciate it. Now, I know some people didn't like the way the CGI looks. I know a lot of people were unhappy that it was a group of girls and it wasn't the original cast. And you know what? However you feel about this movie's fine. If you didn't like it, that's fine. I don't think you had to. I don't necessarily think that movie was meant for Ghostbuster fans. Now, I'm not going to try to put words into people's mouth, and I'm not going to try to apologize for anybody. But let me tell you who did like that movie. My 9-year-old. My kid. Who at the time I think was like 6 or 7, right? And he saw that movie and he really enjoyed it. Now, he had seen the other guy. I had shown him Ghostbusters. And he liked it. But he had always been kind of indifferent on the original Ghostbusters movie. Because it's been like 30 years. It is an old movie. And he has always refused to watch the cartoon. And I don't know why. Kids do that. But when he saw that 2016 movie, he really enjoyed it. He laughed along with all the girls. He thought it was great. He loved the special effects. He loved the ghost busting. And that's when I realized, that's who that movie was for. That movie was for the group of people, especially younger people, who had never seen Ghostbusters and might not ever see Ghostbusters, right? I really think that movie was meant for teenagers and a younger crowd who just have no interest in watching older films. And I know, I say older films, right? But yeah, 30 years ago, that is an old film. Now, does that mean that it was a good movie? No, it wasn't. Like I said, it was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. I think some people think it's terrible, and that's fine if you think that way, but I don't think it was terrible. But it wasn't great. And unfortunately, it wasn't marketed in such a way as to explain to people, this. We know you love Ghostbusters. We don't have that film. We don't have Ghostbusters 3 for you yet. Here's something else, something different. I really think if they had just come out and said that at the beginning, if they had said, look, I know this is not Ghostbusters 3, this is just something else, and it's specifically, we're making this for people who have never seen Ghostbusters, but if you've seen Ghostbusters, you might enjoy it too, I think people would have taken it better. I think people might have said, okay, well, then maybe I don't have to care about it, maybe I don't have to like it, but okay, I get why you're doing it, That all being said, regardless of that, I am so excited for Ghostbusters Afterlife, okay? Because it is the legacy film that we have all been asking for. It is the sequel that we have desperately wanted for the last 20 years. No, it's not going to be Ghostbusters 3. We can't ever have that. The video game is going to we'll have to settle for the video game because the actors got old, You're never going to, you can't get 70-year-old men to look like 40-year-old action stars. That's why Indiana Jones 4 is the dumbest movie I've ever seen, and I am not going to see Indiana Jones 5. Harrison Ford is an 80-year-old action star? I don't think so. That's stupid. Come on, knock it off. But we are getting finally a legacy film from the son of the director who loves this franchise as much as any of its fans. That's the thing I love. He is a true fan of Ghostbusters, and he gets it. He gets directing, he gets story writing, he gets filmmaking, and he gets Ghostbusters. That's exactly what we want. This is the perfect pairing for Ghostbusters, as was Jon Favreau for The Mandalorian, right? You got the right kind of fan who understands Hollywood, understands movie making, and then understood the source property. This movie, I'm so looking forward to. It comes out later this year, and I just, the hype for it for me, I had almost, I hadn't forgotten about it, but it had been so long between the trailers, right, that, I was kind of wondering if we were even going to get a second trailer, which really, I was very disappointed earlier in the year, last year, and then this year when we had we had perfect moments that they could have dropped trailers, right? Especially with movies returning to theaters. Black Widow should have this Ghostbusters trailer in front of it, but it didn't. Or Comic-Con, it was all virtual last year. Why wasn't there something? Why wasn't there a behind the scenes? Let's interview some of the actors and throw some stuff out there. Nothing. It has been just devoid of anything. And then we got a tiny little Paul Rudd clip of him in Walmart finding those little Stay Puft marshmallows. That was cute, but it wasn't enough. And then now we get this trailer that, it ends with a bang. You got Dan Aykroyd on the other end of the line. Oh my God, that's so cool. I'm tearing up now just talking about it. Every time I've been watching people react to this thing, and everyone's reactions are perfect because yes, this is beautiful. Yes, this is going to be so cool and exciting. Okay, so that's enough of me gushing over a trailer. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to try to put a link below. Please go watch this trailer. If you're not a big Ghostbusters fan, but of it and you're like, what could a third movie be like? Go check out these trailers for this new Ghostbusters Afterlife and kind of get a sense of what they're showing you here. And I really, seriously, Jason Reitman has a particular type of directing style that I think you're truly going to appreciate, especially if you like some of those smaller indie movies that have sort of a more personal touch, like movies like Juno, and what you could do with a movie like that, or with a director like that, with a property like Ghostbusters, is really spectacular. I am going to do another video at some point in time here before the movie comes out. For a long time, I've had an idea of how to do a Ghostbusters TV show. It's how I run my tabletop RPG. It's how I sort of open up the world of Ghostbusters to there being new franchises and there being new people, from all walks of life, training and testing and using this equipment. And I think it'd be really fun to just kind of tell you guys about my idea. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not going to make a TV show, of course, but I just think it would be kind of fun to talk about that and to kind of show you what, this is what I've been thinking about for years. What and then we can kind of talk about it and see what you guys think. But what do you guys think of this trailer? This is important. I need to hear some feedback because, me and my limited circle of friends, we're all geeking out. But, what is the world thinking about this? Was this a good trailer? Did this add more to the trailer or add enough that it was an exciting second trailer? Because it did have a lot of reused footage. So were you disappointed in this trailer? Were you excited when you saw the cameos? Were they big enough for you, or are we all just kind of waiting to see where Bill Murray falls at all this? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Feel free to send me an email at davidcampproductions@gmail.com. I'll have the link for that below. Hey, guys, thank you so much for coming and listening to me talk about this today. I love Ghostbusters, so all of it. I love every piece of Ghostbusters, even the bad stuff, because it's Ghostbusters. And I really enjoy it. I'm so glad that we live in a world where we get to bring all this stuff back. I'm so happy that as I'm growing older, I get to spend whatever useless extra money I have on stupid things like Ghostbuster toys and whatever, because it makes me happy. I'm so glad that this stuff still exists. Thank you for listening. I love you all. And as always, this is me, Matt Powers, saying, nerd out.
Through the vortex!